Hey guys, we are back and we're at the farm here and we are getting ready to install our metal roofing. Now, what we like to do here is we like to challenge ourselves a little bit. We feel like the more we challenge ourselves and the more we learn and the more we're able to reproduce on the next building. Rather than paying everybody to come out and do everything for us, we really want to do stuff that we've never done before. So I've never installed metal roofing. I've installed regular roofing, composite shingles, but never did metal. And we've already obviously started that. You may have seen in some of the videos. We have our furring strips down and everything else. But on this roof, it's a little steep. So we were kind of thinking through, well, what do we do exactly? We're pretty good with heights, but metal roof is slick. Our top section of our roof here is 812, meaning we have 8 inches of fall for every 12 inches of distance, which is a pretty steep roof. And then we want to be safe when we do it. So because my son is really good on heights, better than I am, I decided, you know what, I'm going to have him get up there and screw everything off. We're going to set our panels. Each panel is 3 feet wide, each metal panel. There are 18 of them per to run the distance, the depth of the building. So we have 18 and 18. And they're not that hard to put in. They're actually fairly light, but they have to get screwed off. And there's quite a lot of fasteners we got to put in. Well, doing that on an 8.5, 12 pitch roof is pretty slick. So we was like, you know, maybe we could just do it with a simple roof ladder. And take a look here, what I bought. This here is hooks for your ladder that allows it to hook over the ridge so you can stand on the ladder while you're screwing everything down. That's great. It really isn't too dangerous, as just below the first set of roof, we have another set of roof. We have another roof, so if you did fall, you wouldn't fall very far. But still, we wanted to be safe. So we said, you know, let's try something. Not only did we get these hooks for our ladder to allow us to stand on the ladder, particularly myself, and then screw it off, but also I got for my son, I got him a belay. Well, I would call this a belay. It's not really a belay. They call it a retracting. It's a safety retraction system, essentially, where you have a harness that goes to your body, and then you have a D-ring, and then this hooks up, and then when you fall, it locks. And this gets affixed to the ridge of the roof. And let me show you how real quick. We have this device right here that we have that gets screwed in to the ridge typically, and you screw this in with some screws on both sides, and then you would hook this up to that belay. I'll call it a belay, a self belay, and that will allow you, or allow us, that if we ever have an accident, this will catch us. Now, when we bought this, I looked at a lot of different types. This kind of came with a kit. I don't know if I'm going to do an actual review on it. I don't know if I'm qualified, to be honest with you, to do a review. I don't know enough about them. I was a firefighter and did some rappelling, but it's been a long time. So rather than me give a lot of questionable things, I'll talk about more our experience with you using it for the first time. The reality is this: most folks you see don't use anything. You'll see them on a roof, and you'll see them, you know, with no harness. By the way, here's our harness right here. They use nothing. Now, I get it. You know, a lot of people feel real secure on that. But I'm going to tell you, there is absolutely a danger to being up above 8-10 feet and falling off that roof. Just heard a story a couple of weeks ago that a construction worker on a friend of ours' house was working, and a guy's been on a roof all the time, and he fell off the roof and he broke both his legs. I don't know about you, but I'm not really into doing that. We have a lot to do here, and I don't want my son getting hurt, or myself getting hurt, or anyone else getting hurt. So we're going to take the time and we're going to use this, and we're going to get practice with it because we want to see what it's like. So anyway, we're going to hook it up. We'll kind of show you what it looks like. You can kind of take a look and maybe judge for yourself. All right, so here's our harness. Kind of neat in the sense it comes with a little bag. This is called Quick Safety, and it is OSHA approved. So typically what you have with a harness is you have a back loop that you would hook to. This sits in your back. And then you have, of course, leg loops here, and then these come along the center as well. Okay, this goes on your back. Okay. Most of the brunt of your weight is being taken up by your legs and your hips. All the weight, actually, your body is sitting on your hips. This is another anchor point here where basically if you're going around a column or something like that, you can put it through and then hook onto here, and that's going to lock on. So that's what that is. So what this is going to extend the hook here, so you can do something where it gives an extra extension, and then this here is going to get clipped to here. Now you may say, well, why is that important? Well, think about this for a minute. You're up there by yourself, it's hooked to here. How are you going to reach it to get it off you? You can't. This extender allows him to take it off. So anyway, this seems like it's going to work. So we'll be back with you in a minute here. We'll get this stuff hooked up and we'll see how it goes. Then I'm going to push him off the roof. And good. So by the way, a little quick note here, we learned something. Of course, the D-ring that came with it is to anchor this belay, this anchor point. It's to anchor it to the roof. This does not go on the back of the harness, which was a mistake that I made. Hey, why don't you hook it up, James, a minute? Yeah, so that hooks on there. There you go. So what I'm going to do is, we got that anchor point on there. We got these hooks on right here. The hooks to the ladder are right here, and I wanted to show you this. These kind of adjust real quick. Kind of neat. They kind of hook up here, and then they lock in up here, so they really can't go anywhere, which is kind of neat. But I want to show you that. Pretty simple to put on a regular extension ladder. I just took the one fly off the, this is actually the top fly of the ladder, not the bottom, because we're using the bottom on the other side. So I want to show you that. It looks like it works really well. And so anyway, we're going to get down, we're going to start this roof, and maybe we'll show you how that goes. It's worked out well thus far. We're about 3/4 of the way done with this roof. Kind of show you where we are. Let's take a quick walk on the other side. See over here, we got it mostly done. You see our panels, what we got to do is our 17-foot bottom lower roof panels, we lean them up against the roof, and we then pull them up. So they're almost 18 feet long, so they're pretty unwieldy. And then of course there we are at the top. That side is completely done there, so that came out really good. Weather's nice, 80 degrees, a little bit cloudy day, so it's not hot. The panels aren't hot. And anyway, I'll show you from up there. Okay, because we pretty much ran out of ladders, I access the roof through this window out here into the roof. Here's the metal roof up here. And I want to show you real quickly how we did this roof. Understand, a lot of folks talk about putting roofing in, typically roofers, and they don't really explain some of the things that are required. And one of the things is these fasteners. So these fasteners right here, they are painted, I think I mentioned last time, these are painted, these aren't Galvalume, because they state that these painted ones last longer than the Galvalume ones. But also, I want you to look at the location. We didn't screw it up here. We screwed it just off the valley here in the flat section on top of the furring strips that are sitting, the 1x4 furring strips that are sitting below this. By the way, those furring strips, they're not pressure treated. They don't have to be, really. You might get a little bit of condensation, but it's probably not going to destroy it. Now these screws go all the way through the furring strip into the OSB. Also, if you notice here, there's a rubber grommet at the bottom of these screws. When you tighten them up, you don't want to squash this down where it's flared out. You just want it to just gently touch it and get snug. The failure of this type of roof versus what we call a standing seam. Now, a standing seam different roof would be that the roof has a seam that's joined together, and they lock in, and you don't need fasteners on the surface, because the failure of these roofs are these fasteners. These grommets are the failure. So what you got to do is, they say about every 20 years come in and change all these fasteners out. I'm not sure how accurate that is. The roof is good for 40 years warranty, but these grommets typically, they say 20 years. So that's kind of the failure. But you see how nice that looks. It just gets a really nice look to it. And you'll see that we ran, I want to also point out, we staggered this. You could see a course going all the way down here, and then we skip one on the second course down. That's a 24-inch width, because that's where the furring strips are. And we skip one. We, of course, have one along the seam where the two panels join. This is one panel, this is the other panel. The panels overlap one another, and you have a fastener every 2 feet on the seam, and then every 4 feet in the middle. So we have you see 4 feet here, every 2 feet here, every 4 feet here, okay? I just think that it's good to explain that to you and kind of what we're doing here. And of course, these are all pre-cut too. So when you order them, you're ordering them from the supplier, pre-cut to the exact length, so you don't obviously have to cut anything, at least nothing major. And then also I want to show you here when you get out. Here where it joins the wall, we have a piece of flashing that we're going to show you that's going to go in here, and it just sits on it. And that way, when the weather hits this, obviously going to have our shingle over the top of that flashing, it hits the water and it rolls off. So that's the idea on this sort of roof. Now I want to tell you something else. This is a 3.5 12 pitch roof here on this roof here, and it is very stable to stand on. This actually has a pretty good grip. You know, there's a misconception that this is really slippery. If it's wet, it's slippery, but if it's dry, it's great. And here's our furring strips. Okay, and I want to show you up top. So here's our 8/12 pitch, where my son is installing the roof. Now, probably didn't point this out before, but he's only 14. So he's way ahead of where I was at 14, that's for sure. And here's a little view of our property up here. Kind of give you an idea of what we're doing here, and this is our land. But anyway, back to our roof. So prior to putting this roof on, what we put is basically a metal fascia cover. This is again Galvalume, and then this is our drip edge. And we actually put our drip edge on first, then stuck this underneath and just put the surface screws. Doesn't really matter. These aren't perfectly even. They probably should have been. Honestly, you cannot see it from down bottom. These as well, if you notice these screws here, in particular right in here, they are fairly even. You can, if you really, really, really want a pretty job, you could use a chalk line. That's advisable, that's fine. You could do that. For us, I didn't like the idea that chalk lines sometimes stain the metal, believe it or not, and I didn't want lines. And I took the gamble of, hey, I could probably go pretty straight, and you cannot tell at all. As well, on this side, and I want to be clear about this too, on this side we have a south-facing view here. The sun is up here, and it kind of goes like this across the sky. Basically, this is our south-facing. When we designed this building, we designed it perfectly south-facing. Why? Because this is where our solar panels are going. Panels are going here, and they're going up here. And the reason is this is an 8/12 pitch, this is a 3.5 12 pitch. The different pitches are going to help because of the angle of the sun in the winter versus in the summer. We may do double panels up here going across. We're going to do 40 panels total, and I'll get into that later on a little more, but that's the reason why we're not so concerned about the screw patterns. This is all going to be covered, the majority of it. So we'll talk about our solar another date. But this is the roof, and we're just going to finish this up here. We'll have it finished probably today. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon.